Alright guys, if you've made it to this point, that means you've finished doing the character brainstorm and you're ready for the next step. At this point, you should have some idea about what the character is like and what he's going to have a problem with in your story. So flip that page over, and on the next page, on the back side of that page, you're going to make the same boxes. You're going to make the same boxes that you made on the front side, but this time we're going to be a little different. We're going to have a thing for describing the setting. We're going to have a thing for talking about what happened at the beginning of the story. So we have a setting. We're going to describe setting, what happens at the beginning, what happens in the middle, and what happens at the end. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to in order to set up your page, and then restart the video after you've set up your page in your writing notebook that looks like this now. So in my first box, I'm looking at the setting. I need to describe the setting that the story is going to be taking place in. And so we'll start here. Mainly, and there may be different places the story is going to happen, but mostly it's going to be happening in the garage. So I'm just going to spell garage in the middle, and I'm going to be making a bubble map here to describe what the garage looks like. The garage is messy. It's a very messy garage, okay? So that's one of the adjectives I'm using to describe it. It has lots of tools in the garage. There's a workbench also in the garage. And one last thing about the garage is that there are no cars in the garage. So they don't use the garage as a place to put cars, they use it as a place to do work. So now at least I have an idea of what kind of garage I'm going to be working in with my character, who is Billy. In the garage, it is going to be messy. There are lots of tools. There's a workbench, but there are no cars in the garage. That gives me an idea of what kind of setting that he's going to be building his rocket inside of. Go ahead and take a moment and think about the setting that yours is in and describe it with 3 or 4 different ideas, at least 3 or 4 different ideas about what the place looks like, what it smells like, what kinds of things do you see, and then continue the video. But for now, pause it and describe the setting of your story. So now we're moving on to the second box, which is the beginning of the story. We're going to be looking at what happens at the beginning of the story. I am not writing this story. I am going to make notes about what happens at the beginning of the story. So, what happens at the beginning of the story, as far as I can tell, and this might change when I'm actually writing it, but to start with this, at the beginning is Billy watches a video about the moon. And you notice my writing is sloppy here. And that's okay because I'm not trying to make this perfect. These are just notes. Billy watched a video about moon. And then Billy wants to go. Billy's dad tells him he needs a rocket. So that's the beginning. We haven't really even gotten to the problem of Billy not knowing how to build a rocket, but it does set us up for why Billy wants to go to the moon. We will introduce Billy, the character, and explain what it is that he wants. In the middle section, we will actually get to the butt of the problem, but for now, we're just going to hang out in the beginning, which is introducing Billy and his dad, and the setting, which is the garage and the house. Go ahead and take a moment. Give 3 details about what's going to happen at the beginning of your story. 3 details about the beginning of your story, and then continue. Okay. In the middle of the story is where we're at now. And we are just planning. We are not actually writing the story yet. We are just planning it out. In the middle of the story, this is what happens, as far as I can see. I'm going to make 3 more notes. In the middle, Billy tries to make a rocket. But Billy's rocket fails. Billy's rocket doesn't work. But Billy's rocket doesn't work. Billy tries to make a rocket. Billy's rocket doesn't work. Billy tries again. But Billy fails. So he tries 2 times to make a rocket to get to the moon, but he fails on both of those. This is what happens in the middle. And the middle is really the problem. And this is when Billy should be getting frustrated and irritated and trying to overcome his problem, but he doesn't do it. So if compared to the beginning of the story, at the beginning of the story, we learn why Billy wants to go to the moon and that he thinks that he can do it, and then we meet his dad and Billy in the setting. In the middle, Billy's problems become really big because he's failing at building the rocket, which means at the end, we are going to have how does Billy respond to his failure? Does he give up? Does he break everything he made? We have to look at what is Billy's response to the problem that is happening over here. So take a moment, write the middle, make 3 notes about 3 details about the middle of your story, and then come back. Go ahead and pause the video. So here we go, and we're looking at the end part of the story. And here's what's going to happen. Mr. Billy is going to cry and break his rocket. He's going to talk with his dad. His dad is going to talk to him. Talk to him. Okay? His dad is going to talk to him. And they're going to have a conversation. I don't know the details of that yet, but I know they're going to have a conversation that makes Billy feel better. And Billy decides that he is going to learn everything there is about rockets. and make one day. So, Billy's response to his thing is that he's going to cry and break his rocket. His dad is going to talk to him, and they're going to have a great conversation about how you can't just decide to build a rocket, but Billy's going to decide to learn about rockets and make one someday, maybe when he finishes college. But that's now his life's dream, is to go and make the rocket. So what happens here, I'm going to pull back here for a second so we can see the whole, ooh, that was too small. So we can see the whole page. So we described the setting of what's going on, or where it's happening, what that place looks like. We described the beginning, which introduces us to Billy and his dad and what Billy wants. In the middle is Billy's big problem, which is that he can't build the rocket that he wants to build. So Billy cries and breaks his rocket. His dad talks with him, and Billy decides he's going to learn about rockets so that he can make one someday. And that's sort of going to be the flow of my story, right? This is really just a big sequence map of sequence of events from the beginning to the middle to the end. Okay? Beginning, middle, end. This gives us good plan for our story. If you combine this with our character brainstorm on the last video, you have a lot of really good details about your story. Go ahead and plan out the end of your story, and then bring all of your notes to me, and we will take a look at them.